Prince Harry's latest maneuver, or what royal insiders are now calling his dirty plan to trap King Charles and Prince William, has once again thrown the monarchy into a state of quiet turmoil. It's not exactly shocking at this point, given the years of public drama, legal battles, and emotional storytelling that have defined his post-royal life, but this feels different. Not just because it involves veterans, not just because it's tied to an event with deep meaning, but because of how he's handling it, with all the subtlety of a tabloid headline and all the grace of a man trying to force reconciliation under the world's gaze. The 2027 Invictus Games, Harry's most enduring legacy as a member of the royal family, has been chosen as the battleground for this so-called olive branch. On the surface, it sounds noble, a gesture of unity, a moment where the estranged son and brother tries to bring healing through shared service to wounded veterans. But scratch beneath the surface and the optics get messy fast, because instead of quietly reaching out to King Charles and Prince William, offering them space to decide whether they want to attend or not, Harry reportedly did something far more calculated. He approved a detailed plan to send formal invitations to both men through their private secretaries, but before those letters even landed on desks, he leaked the entire thing to the Mail on Sunday, ensuring maximum coverage, maximum pressure, and maximum exposure. And that's where the strategy starts to smell like entrapment. Because here's the kicker, the final day of the 2027 Invictus Games is set to clash directly with Queen Camilla's 80th birthday, a major milestone that will likely include official engagements, televised tributes, and family appearances. The timing isn't accidental. Royal experts and longtime observers say it's almost too perfect to be coincidence. By scheduling the climax of his pet event on the same day as Camilla's big celebration, Harry has created a no-win scenario for his father and brother. If Charles and William show up, they risk looking like participants in a staged reunion designed more for media optics than genuine reconciliation. If they decline, they'll be painted as cold, ungrateful, and insensitive to the cause that supports injured military personnel, a move that could cost them goodwill among veterans and the broader British public. That's what makes this stunt so effective from Harry's perspective. It puts his family in a corner, forces them to react, and ensures that no matter what they do, he controls the narrative. This isn't diplomacy, it's manipulation dressed as charity. And while Harry might believe he's playing chess, many inside the palace see it as little more than a PR power play, one that undermines the very values the Invictus Games were meant to represent. For Harry, the event is more than just a passion project, it's the last remaining piece of his royal identity that still carries legitimacy. His name is tied to its founding. His image is built around its mission, and as his brand continues to crumble between failed Netflix deals, collapsing credibility, and growing skepticism about his mental health advocacy, the need to reassert relevance has become urgent. So what better way to reclaim the spotlight than by dragging his estranged family into the mix? Except of course that neither Charles nor William seem interested in playing along. William in particular has taken a hard line. Sources close to him report that he no longer even brings up Harry in conversation. Gone is the raw anger that followed the release of Spare, replaced now with something colder, sharper, and far more definitive, indifference. And in royal circles, silence speaks louder than any statement ever could. His refusal to engage, his decision to let the press and public sort it out, is being interpreted by many as the final act of emotional distancing. Charles, meanwhile, remains the wild card. As reigning monarch, he's bound by duty, tradition, and the delicate balance of maintaining dignity in the face of chaos. There's speculation that he may attend some portion of the games, not out of personal interest, but for diplomatic reasons. He knows the importance of supporting military causes, and he also knows how damaging it would look to skip the event entirely. But even if he does make a brief appearance, the damage may already be done, because Harry didn't handle this like family. He handled it like a PR executive trying to manufacture a story. By leaking the invite details before sending them officially, by making sure the press got wind of every move before the recipients even had a chance to respond, Harry turned what could have been a heartfelt attempt at reunification into a strategic spectacle. He didn't reach out, he didn't offer privacy, he didn't allow space for organic decisions. He forced the issue, and in doing so exposed just how transactional his relationship with the monarchy has become. The British public, once sympathetic to Harry's side of the story, is increasingly siding with Charles and William. Polls show a steady shift in favor of the working royals, with many people seeing Harry's tactics as manipulative rather than meaningful. Leaking invites before sending them, using veterans as a backdrop for royal drama. That's not reconciliation, that's pressure politics, and people are starting to notice. And then there's Meghan. According to insiders, her involvement in the event is still uncertain. She's previously made it clear she won't step foot in the UK without guaranteed police protection, an ask that was swiftly denied. If she does end up attending, however, don't expect humility or discretion. Her past appearances at UK events have been marred by controversy, including reports that she was asked to leave early after drawing attention away from the actual guests of honor. Then the very next day, she posted heavily curated photos of Archie and Lilibet on social media, turning a public engagement into a personal branding opportunity. That's the pattern now. Every moment of tension becomes content, every family feud gets monetized, every emotional appeal comes with strings attached. William, for his part, seems to be done engaging altogether. Friends describe his approach as calculated detachment. Gone is the frustration, the disbelief, the urge to publicly defend himself or his father. In its place is a cold, strategic silence. He simply doesn't waste energy on rebuttals anymore. He lets the record speak for itself. And in doing so, he sends a message far more powerful than any interview ever could. I'm done, I'm moving forward, and I don't care what you say anymore. For Harry, who thrives on conflict and control, that kind of indifference must sting more than outright rejection. Because when your goal is to provoke reaction, silence is the ultimate countermove. Charles, meanwhile, walks a tightrope between familial obligation and royal protocol. He's under immense pressure to maintain decorum, to avoid giving the impression that the monarchy is fractured beyond repair. But behind closed doors, sources say he's frustrated, hurt, and exhausted. He's not just dealing with the fallout of Harry's choices, he's managing the wider implications of a son who refuses to respect boundaries. And that's what makes this latest chapter so troubling. Because the Invictus Games isn't just another red carpet event. It's not just another royal gathering where drama can unfold. It's a globally recognized, deeply respected institution dedicated to honoring the sacrifices of wounded veterans. To weaponize it, to turn it into a stage for personal grievances, isn't just controversial, it's deeply disrespectful. But Harry doesn't seem to care. Or maybe he does, and just doesn't think he can afford to stop now. His brand is sinking. His trustworthiness is evaporating. His relationships are fraying, and if he can't win back the public with sincerity, he'll try to do it with drama, leaks, and manufactured moments. And that's the real tragedy here. What started as a beautiful idea, using sport to heal, to empower, to unite, has now been dragged into the Sussex's endless cycle of grievance, blame, and performance. What should be a moment of pride has become a political minefield, and for many within the royal household, that's not just frustrating, it's heartbreaking. Because the truth is, the Invictus Games deserve better, the veterans deserve better, the British public deserves better, and perhaps so do the Windsors. But until Harry decides to stop treating every moment as a potential headline, the war over perception will continue. And the real winner? Not Harry, not William, not Charles, just the cameras. Because as long as the Sussexes keep throwing grenades, the rest of the world will keep watching, and laughing, and sharing, and wondering when the next move will finally land. Because right now, it feels like none of them are winning. They're all just getting older, and more divided. It's becoming painfully clear that Prince William isn't just emotionally distancing himself from Harry, he's moved on entirely. This isn't some temporary cold shoulder or a passing phase of frustration. It's full calculated detachment. His focus is now laser sharp, the future of the monarchy, his wife Kate's recovery, his father's health, and raising his children in a world that still values privacy, duty, and discretion. In that world, Harry has become a footnote, no longer central to the narrative, no longer a priority in family discussions, and certainly not part of any long-term vision for royal stability. According to sources cited in the Sunday Times, William rarely even brings up his brother anymore. And when he does, it's with an air of what can only be described as amused indifference, like talking about a distant cousin whose antics are more frustrating than painful. That shift from anger to apathy is arguably far more damning than any public statement could be. Because if you've reached the point where someone who once stood beside you at every major life event is now barely worth acknowledging, you're not estranged, you're irrelevant. And yet Harry keeps trying to force his way back into the spotlight, often through tactics that do more to alienate him further than bring him closer. The latest leaks around the 2027 Invictus Games, which reportedly came before formal invitations were even sent, have raised serious questions, not just about Harry's judgment, but about whether this was his move or someone else's attempt to generate buzz on his behalf. Some insiders believe the leak may have come from one of Harry's closest allies, possibly acting under instruction, but either way, the optics are brutal. This wasn't a quiet outreach, it wasn't a sincere gesture of reconciliation, it was pressure politics, and it landed exactly how Charles and William expected it to. King Charles, meanwhile, finds himself walking a tightrope between his roles as monarch and as a father. He knows the importance of maintaining unity, especially on global stages like the Invictus Games. There's speculation he may attend a portion of the event, not because he wants to reunite with Harry, but because he understands the symbolic weight of supporting wounded veterans and upholding royal military ties. As sovereign, he must think about legacy, public perception, and diplomatic presence. But even if he does make an appearance, it will almost certainly be interpreted as bending to pressure rather than healing wounds, a distinction that matters deeply to both Charles and William. This entire situation also highlights the growing divide in how each side views the monarchy itself. For Charles and William, the institution is sacred. It's not perfect, but it represents duty, continuity, and service. For Harry, it seems increasingly transactional, a brand to leverage, a story to retell, and a source of personal identity he refuses to fully release, even as he spends millions attacking its inner workings. And then there's Meghan. Her role in all of this remains as polarizing as ever. While she and Harry continue to present themselves as misunderstood advocates for change, many inside palace walls see her as the architect behind much of the chaos that followed their departure. There's lingering doubt over whether she has any real interest in repairing ties, or if she sees these manufactured moments as another opportunity to shape the narrative in her favor. Her past appearances at Invictus events were less about honoring veterans and more about curated photo ops, wardrobe headlines, and social media branding. One particularly controversial moment saw her so dominate the attention pool that organizers quietly asked her to leave early the next day, only for her to turn around and post polished images of Archie and Lilibet online, transforming a veteran-focused event into a platform for personal storytelling. That pattern continues today. Harry and Meghan have tried to carve out a unique lane, one where they maintain royal connections while rejecting royal responsibility. They wanted the prestige without the protocol, the name recognition without the accountability. But time and again, the cracks in that strategy keep showing. Netflix, once seen as their biggest financial and cultural ally, recently announced a new documentary partnership with King Charles. No Harry, no Meghan, just the crown. The film, narrated by Idris Elba and featuring Charles directly, marks a dramatic shift in Hollywood's calculus, betting on tradition over turmoil, stability over spectacle. For the Sussexes, the sting is obvious. What was supposed to be their golden ticket to influence has turned into a closed door marked already occupied. The timing of the Netflix deal alone speaks volumes. It wasn't just a strategic pivot for the streamer. It was a symbolic recalibration, a message to the world that the monarchy still holds value, even if one of its former members doesn't. Public perception has shifted dramatically since their exit in 2020. Once viewed as the bold rebels fighting outdated systems, Harry and Meghan are now widely seen as a couple stuck in a cycle of publicity stunts, contradiction, and selective victimhood. Their latest maneuver, the so-called olive branch disguised as a press leak, has only reinforced that image. Because if you really want to mend relationships, you don't leak invites to the tabloids first. You don't schedule events to clash with key royal milestones. You don't treat reconciliation like a red carpet rollout. You pick up the phone, you send a private message, you show humility, but that's the problem. Harry doesn't seem to understand the difference between authentic outreach and media manipulation. His actions suggest he believes the two are interchangeable, that the right headline, the right photo op, the right emotional appeal on camera can rewrite years of damage in one fell swoop. And that's where the disconnect lies, because the truth is he burned those bridges himself. Through interviews that painted the monarchy as toxic, through memoirs that exposed private conversations, through documentaries that framed his family as villains in a modern fairy tale gone wrong. If he truly wants to reconcile, if he's not just looking for another viral moment, he's going to need far more than a leaked invite and a well-timed press release. He's going to need to admit fault, to acknowledge pain, to stop treating every interaction like content. Instead, he keeps choosing performance over progress, drama over dialogue, and spectacle over sincerity. And until that changes, the gap won't just remain, it'll widen. Charles, for his part, is navigating an increasingly delicate path. He's aware of his limited time on the throne, and he's determined to use it wisely. His reign is already defined by health concerns, generational shifts, and the challenge of leading a monarchy that's constantly being redefined. He doesn't need another round of drama. He needs stability, legacy, continuity, and frankly, he deserves peace. As for William, he's done engaging. His silence says everything his words never had to. What started as raw frustration after Spare dropped has evolved into something colder, sharper, and final: detachment. He no longer reacts, he no longer defends, he simply moves forward. And perhaps that's the most painful truth of all for Harry. Being ignored hurts far worse than being attacked. Because when your entire brand is built on trauma, betrayal, and misunderstanding, and no one even argues with your version of reality anymore, you realize something: they stopped listening, and maybe, just maybe, they finally stopped caring. Time, both politically and biologically, is no longer on King Charles's side. At 76, his reign has been marked by health battles, the weight of legacy, and the immense pressure to modernize a monarchy that is constantly under scrutiny. He simply doesn't have the luxury for drawn-out family drama or endless cycles of emotional tension. Every public move he makes is analyzed not just as a father or brother, but as a monarch representing an institution centuries old. That's why his next decision, whether or not to attend the 2027 Invictus Games, will carry far more significance than just supporting a veteran cause. It will be a statement, a line drawn in the sand. Because at this point, it's not just about attending an event, it's about showing the country where he stands. And if staying away means avoiding yet another manufactured media spectacle orchestrated by Harry, then that silence might speak louder than any appearance ever could. The royal household knows all too well how easily these moments can spiral into something about optics rather than honor. For Charles, the priority now is moving forward with dignity intact, not reopening wounds that haven't healed. Behind palace walls, the focus has already shifted toward the future. Prince William, now firmly in position as the heir apparent and de facto leader of the monarchy's next chapter, is laying the groundwork for what many are calling a stripped-back monarchy, a leaner, more agile institution with fewer working royals, less pageantry, and a sharper, more relatable image. He's not dwelling on past tensions. He's not trying to salvage broken relationships. He's making plans for his coronation, his reign, and his children's future. There are even quiet whispers that he may never fully move into Buckingham Palace at all, instead choosing to operate from Kensington House or Windsor Castle, symbolically signaling a new era of monarchy that prioritizes efficiency over opulence, service over scandal, and presence over performance. To William, the crown isn't about nostalgia. It's about adapting to the times, not chasing headlines or indulging in sideshows from Montecito. And speaking of the children, Archie and Lilibet, their names keep surfacing in royal discussions, though they're still too young to understand the weight being placed upon them. Harry reportedly wants to preserve their HRH titles, framing it as a way to give them choice in the matter when they grow older. But insiders say the reality is far less sentimental. Those titles don't come with guarantees. Royal roles are earned through service, commitment, and trust, not handed down like family heirlooms. And right now, there is no trust between the Sussexes and the rest of the firm. That door is closed, the path is blocked, the expectation is gone. Even within the royal structure, the narrative is shifting. There's no bitterness, just boundaries. The kind of lines that were once blurred by sentimentality but have now been redrawn with clarity. Meanwhile, the press has begun its own realignment. Media outlets that once championed Harry and Meghan rolling out sympathetic profiles and giving space to their emotional appeals are now quietly turning the page. Magazines like People, which once celebrated the couple as symbols of change, recently released a glowing cover story on Kate Middleton, while leaving the Sussexes entirely off the radar. It wasn't just oversight, it was a signal. Netflix, too, has made its move. Their recent pivot to partner directly with King Charles on a documentary celebrating his leadership and legacy is more than just a business decision. It's symbolic. It shows where Hollywood and the wider world now place their bets, not with the chaos of California, but with the continuity of the crown. As one insider put it, they're betting on the king, not the exile. For Harry, that sting runs deep, because after years of positioning himself as the misunderstood rebel, the man who left the monarchy to protect his mental health and fight for authenticity, the truth is settling in. He's not the future of the royal brand. He's not the voice of reform. He's not even the tragic hero anymore. He's the past, and the monarchy is moving on. So yes, Harry may continue reaching out through press strategies, staged events, leaked invites, and emotionally charged interviews. He may try every trick in the book to regain relevance, reframe the narrative, and force reconciliation into the spotlight. But for the people who once mattered most, his father, his brother, and the institution itself, it's already too late, because time waits for no one. And the monarchy, it moves forward whether you're ready or not.